Actually, gonna be a sec. I think I will.
Okay,
Just
got it.
test this out.
All right.
I think it should be fine at that volume.
Yo, guys, welcome in. Matt, Died Quartz, Reach, Zerman, Zeno. Welcome in, welcome in.
Okay.
All right. Start with a timer. There it is. Let me know when to start, so I can start the.
Yeah, I'll just take a drink.
All right, so we have a clipboard going on a Titanfall 2 speedrun. Any percent?
Yep, we're doing 80% once again. Then are we good to go?
Yeah.
The green light.
Count on three. 3, 2, 1, and go.
All right. So, the first thing that you'll want to know about this game is that it's built off of a modified version of the source engine. And this means that we're going to be using a lot of source engine tech, mainly air strafing, which air strafing lets us subvert the speed cap that we get when holding forward by kind of moving through this in this curved way throughout the air. And we'll be combining that with slide hopping, which is similar to bunny hopping if you've seen any source runs, but we just get to slide, which makes the window for getting the jump and keeping speed easier. So then we're off.
Yeah, so you're seeing it right away, the combination of slide hopping and air strafing, which is going to be predominantly a big part of the movement system here in Titanfall 2. You can gain speed doing air strafing, where you can almost even clear that gap before you even get access to a double jump or a wall run early on in this tutorial section. So this first part here, we are inside of a simulation, which means we cannot die. So alongside making use of our now full array of parkour movement, including wall kicks, slides, and the like, we are also going to take use of damage boosts. And these damage boosts are going to be done in such a way that would normally kill us in the normal gameplay, but while we're in this opening level, do not have that capability. So we're going to start off with some EPG boosting. This is basically a rocket launcher that we use for some damage boost to get over to these frags.
No. The drone didn't start.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a thing that can happen. That was very, very weird. Okay, yeah. Either way, that is something that can happen where the trigger to start the gauntlet, you can actually go too fast and cause the gauntlet to not start because you didn't actually trigger it happening. But the idea here is you are going to use a bunch of frag boosts, get through this gauntlet very quickly, start the gauntlet once again to skip some dialogue, and then we are going to be done with the very tutorial here. From here, it's selecting some dialogue boxes and making sure that we don't lose any time to the things we can control.
Yep. And while we're waiting here, I'd like to expand on air strafing a little bit. So this game has a lot lower of air acceleration than most source games. And so what that means is that the rate at which we can turn and still gain speed is slower. So if I try and turn too fast, I'll just lose all my speed. And that speed at which we can turn and still gain speed gets lower the faster we get. So we will have a way to kind of circumvent that later on. Oh, funny little glitch there. Caused the Titan to come in an odd angle. But yeah, we'll get into that later. And so yeah, we're pretty much done with the gauntlet here. We have one more little cutscene. And yeah.
Yeah, so as we get through this little cutscene, at the very end, we're going to be mashing the space bar. The game tries to give us a difficulty based on our performance in the gauntlet. However, there is a brief moment in time in which the menu's icon is selected over the easy difficulty. And if we mash the spacebar, it gets through the menu fast as possible without also selecting the easy difficulty before it swaps down to whatever the recommended difficulty was from the gauntlet performance. So it's a great little extra thing that we can just spam the spacebar to menu very quickly there. But this is going to be the end of the tutorial level. We'll be heading into the first real level here in just a moment, which is BT7274. So here we go. We're going to smash that spacebar, get through it very quickly, get that easy difficulty, and now we're into the next level.
Yep, and we're gonna have a little bit of a cutscene here at the beginning, and then a little bit of gameplay, and then another cutscene, which is an unfortunate thing about this game. There's so many cutscenes, but we do during runs have a way to bypass that aforementioned second cutscene in this level. That will skip it and then inject the time that you would normally spend in that cutscene into your timer. So just letting the game still be the same end time, but just the quality of life being better. You're not having to sit through the cutscene every time you reset here. So yeah.
A lot of the cutscenes, you still retain control during them, so you can at least like mess around, do some wall kicks, you know, air strafe around, and still do some movement. But this cutscene that we're going to be have the bypass for to skip and inject the time is a super long cutscene right at the start of the game that you have no control of. You just have to sit there and participate. But we're going to be getting into a brief gameplay section here. We had the full array of parkour movement in the previous level. We're going to be starting off without that and only going to basically have access to just the slide hops and air strafes. Right out of the gate, we're going to be doing something known as a super glide, where we hit both the jump and crouch inputs at the same time. This will cause us to jump out of this cutscene immediately into a pretty decent speed, and from there, we're going to change some slide hops and some air strafing to get into the next cutscene as fast as possible. So here we go. There is the super glide right out of the gate. We got to make sure to avoid the geometry as well as the grunts and enemies. Very nice strafing here. Getting above 50 is very good for this opening sequence. And now we have entered the infamous 18-hour cutscene. This is the one that we bypass in question.
Mm-hmm. And the name 18-hour cutscene is kind of has two meanings behind it. There is kind of an 18-hour reference, like somebody says, you know, whatever in 18 hours in the cutscene, so it's named after that. But it's also just like the cutscene's 18 hours long. Get me out of here! It's so long.
Yeah,
that kind of deal.
The specific line that said is, "We have 18 hours. 18 hours until the Ark is sealed and ready for delivery." And yeah, the cutscene has been named that as a result. Thankfully, the bypass has been very good for the health of the game long term, because Titanfall 2 is a very difficult speed game with some of the most difficult levels right at the start of the speed run. So very often you'll get a runner, 15, 20 minutes in, they'll hit a reset off of a unfortunate, like very difficult section, and then they have to come back, go through the training level, right into this long cutscene. And yeah, the bypass has been very good. And shout outs to Fizzy for developing not only the live script auto splitter and load remover for this, but also developing the script in live split that skips over to the save in question and also injects the missing time into live split as well. Big shout outs to Fizzy for that.
Yeah. And also, while we're waiting here, I'd like to talk about some of the modifications that have been made to the game by the community. The first one is the speedometer, which is a vanilla feature in the game. It's just not accessible in the vanilla game, so we just make it usable, and I think it's a really cool addition. Really lets you see, like, wow, they're going this fast. I think that's cool. And then we also have the CKF in the bottom left, and this is for Crouch Kick Fix. That's what it stands for. And this is a fix for a tech that was somewhat recently discovered that makes it more consistent, because it was a tech that had a lot of inconsistencies, especially if you had certain hardware. So it just levels the playing field, makes it so that we can consistently hit those without having to worry about, you know, just randomly dropping them.
Yeah.
And we've got Lastimosa here, who is our kind of mentor in his last moments. Say goodbye to Lastimosa. And he's going to be transferring over his pilot gear. So yeah.
Yeah, this
We're
is a
about
pretty
done,
big.
though.
Yeah, this is a pretty big thing in the Titanfall universe. The idea of a normal militia infantryman becoming an acting pilot is a super rare occurrence in the course of the game. But we get access to the helmet and the jump kit, which gives us the majority of our parkour array options available to us. The only thing we won't have right out of the gate is a double jump, which we'll get later on in this level. And that means that we have to make all of our movements very deliberately here. In Titanfall 2, if you make a movement mistake, you can generally correct it with the use of a double jump. Because we don't have that at the start, every single one of our movements, like right there, for example, if we make a movement mistake, we don't have the double jump to correct it. So we're going to go for a frag boost here. So unlike the very beginning of the game, where we were not able to die, at this point, we can die from damage boosts of any sort. So we have to make sure to use damage boosts like frag throws to do so outside of the kill radius to get the maximum boost that we possibly can. So right out of the gate, you're seeing frag boosts, you're seeing wall kicks, you're seeing all this parkour movement along with the source engine holdovers being used to great effect. A little bit of a tap strafe there, which makes use of a mechanic called Lurch that we'll go over a little bit later. Going for another frag here on Death River, very nicely done. Great use of frag so far, and picking up a DRM here that'll be useful for later in the level.
I'm gonna pay the price for trying to reload there. Yeah.
Getting caught up on Prowlers there. The hitboxes of the NPC enemies in the game can be deceptively big and halt all your momentum immediately. But now we finally have access to the double jumps, and now we have the full array of our parkour movement. You'll see that be made use to great effect here. We get the slide very nicely done. That slide can get caught up on all the geometry there, so very nicely done to slide through it. Now we're going to be heading into something known as a slant boost, which is landing on a piece of terrain in such a way that we transfer all of our vertical momentum into horizontal momentum. Very good. Slant boosting that all the way. Now we're going to pick up a frag, throw it in such a way that we kill all the NPCs there and immediately input the battery. Very nicely done from Clip so far.
Yeah, now we're going to be doing a skip called River Jump. Gets a good bit of casual gameplay, and is trickier than it looks. And now we're going to be heading on to Ravine, one of the hardest sections in the game. Very movement intensive. Oh.
Ooh, bit of a move mistake right at the start. Yeah, what makes Ravine so intensive is the fact that you have to chain a very large amount of wall kicks in a very short amount of time through this sequence. And you can ideally get up to like ridiculous speeds, like 90, 100 kilometers per hour at the absolute top end here. And we want to get a good amount of speed so we can hop on top of that piece of geometry there and get a transition, nice wall kick, and just send it through the encampment sequence. So even though that Ravine didn't start off the greatest, a phenomenal recovery from Clip. That is the power of wall kicks and the speed that you can get from them, especially the crouch kick variants, which has become a dominant force in Titanfall 2 play over the last little bit. These vents, hilariously, the best way to get through them is to hold forward and mash the spacebar or the jump button. That's literally it. That's the best way to get through them. And now we're going to be going for another slant boost here and taking advantage of this DMR to try and snipe out a specific NPC that's going to be walking on an archway. So we're going to go for these wall kicks, land on top of this archway right here. Bang, bang. Very nicely done. We're going to cook a frag, try and take out all of these enemies. So didn't quite get them all with that first frag, but the snipe out takes them out, and that is very good. That strategy of using the DMR is a very high-level strat and saves about 2 seconds over the previous double grenade strategy for that section. So this has been a phenomenal BT from Clipboard as a whole. Very nicely done, dude.
Yep. And now we're going to be finally embarking into BT. We needed to collect these 2 batteries to get BT back in fully operational state. So yeah, we're going to be not going to have quite all of our like options as a Titan yet, like all of our abilities and stuff, but we're going to slowly get them throughout this tutorial. And I'd also like to expand on wall kicks, explain what those are a bit more. Basically, Wall kicks are just jumping off of a wall as soon as you touch it, and the way it works is that the faster that you jump off the wall upon making contact, the more speed you gain. So it's a huge part of like the skill in this game is just that timing of wall kicks to build up speed. So yeah.
Yeah. So so we're going to be doing a little bit of an introduction to the Titans here. This is the Titan tutorial. We start off by getting access to the Vortex Shield. We want to manipulate this in such a way that we leave about 2 enemies left at the top here, so we spawn the next wave of things. Not quite, so we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for this wave of enemies to spawn. Once they do spawn in here, we're going to use more reflections to take them all out. This will transition to the next part of the section here. All of this is scripted so that even if we mess it up completely, it'll progress forward at a certain rate, no matter what.
Yeah, but we do gain time by clearing them faster.
Yeah.
Typically.
And right at the end here, you have to clear out all but one of the enemies to progress to the next part. So a little bit of mistakes with there leading to us losing a little bit of time. Not the end of the world. And we're going to be heading into the final part of the Titan tutorial, which is effectively meant to be an introductory mini-boss where a Titan is going to Titanfall, by the name of the game, from the sky. And we're going to do a specific strategy referred to as the double no-you strat to take it out. So we're going to start off by standing in the spot, using our E-smoke to manipulate their position, firing a bunch of bullets into their vortex shields, putting up our own, firing the bullets they reflected back at us, back at them, which does a ton of extra damage, the double no-you, and then we send it with a few more shots, take out the brute as a very quickly way, and that's going to be the end of the first real level of the game, BT-7274. Great showing so far from Clip.
All right. Yeah, if you go too early there, it'll put the end level trigger across the map, so we need to wait for an audio cue to know when to go. And yep, that's BT. We're going to be on to Blood and Rust, and it's going to be action from pretty much beginning to end here.
Gonna let some audio cues go here.
Oh,
Ooh,
rough first frag.
Yeah, not the greatest start there. I'm gonna try again.
我们生存的唯一机会是与安德森少校在离这里60公里处汇合。我们要生存，就得懂得应变和适应。
It's a pretty good first frag. Not the greatest on the second, but it's enough for what we need. This is a strategy known as a Disembark, Instant Disembark, Decepembark. There's a few names for it. But it's a strategy where we disembark immediately from BT, use some frag boosts to get through the first, a little bit of rough opening section, then try and chain some wall kicks here. And the point is to go through this sequence as fast as we can as a pilot, which does end up saving a significant amount of time rather than the intended strat of going through here inside of our Titan BT-7274. Now, that was very well done, but this does come with a trade-off. Yeah, turn the treats off. This does come with a trade-off. The trade-off, of course, being, well, rather not of course being, but that we skip a Titan loadout, which makes the boss fight at the end of this level quicker. So this is going to lose some time later on, but the amount of speed that you gain from it is more than worth it.
Wow.
Ooh, okay, so I'm going to be quiet for these frags.
Yeah, this ooh boy, this section can be very rough, very tight movement with the frags makes it like one mistake and it's kind of over.
Yeah, the frags as well do need an audio cue sometimes, so I need to be more cognizant of that so I'm not clocking the airwaves for Clip here. But this is the part of Blood and Rust known as Sniper Canal, and yeah, these are very good wall kicks to be chaining this through. This is tap strafe hauls, where we take advantage of the tap strafe technique mentioned earlier to try and maintain as much of the speed that we get starting into the tap strafes through it as a whole. And that takes an advantage of a mechanic known as lurch. We'll go into more detail of it at the end of this level. But tap strafe has been huge for the movement of this game for when it was found. This is the slingshot section where we try and use these walls to build up as much speed coming through grunt hallways, which is named after the sheer amount of grunts that you have to get through in order to get through the sequence quickly. And despite a little bit of hiccups at the very end, all those grunts were well out of the way. Very nicely done. Taking advantage of a niche movement technique here known as a bump launch, where crouching in a corner like this and spamming jump inputs will get us massively up that wall as fast as possible, so very nicely done. This section is very tight movement because of the speed you need as well as the constant needed for tap strafes and not a whole lot of room for error. Now we're heading into the sludge skip sequence. This is going to be hitting this button, and now we're going to be trying to maneuver ourselves through a gap in the invisible wall here on this pipe. Very nicely done. Embarking through BT, and now we're going to disembark for a pilot transition into the boss fight. Good frag. That's a little bit scary. Good enough frag to continue forward. 64 is enough to get the last wall kick here. Yeah, you're looking for about 70 off of those wall kick chains minimum for this to be considered very good. This transition is just enough worth it as we head into the boss fight, where if you can maintain good speed, even though you have to re-embark into BT at the end for this fight, it still ends up being worth it. And this is the Kane fight. As mentioned, we don't have the tone loadout to do this fight faster than what we would do normally. So we're going to lose some time to that. But as we re-embark here, we are still going to save that time as we go for the Expeditioner version of Kane, which starts off with blocking on all these missiles and firing these shots into the Brute here. Now we want to focus all of this effort down. We want to be shooting these Expeditioner shots into Kane, trying to aim for his hatch, which is the critical hit point against Kane. Once we get as much our burst core, which is like an ultimate ability online, we start firing every little bit of damage we can into that hatch, and Kane behaving very nicely there to stay right in Clip's line of fire the entire time. And that is what you like to see. That's a very good Kane fight, and despite the roughness, still a very good performance on Bloodrust.
Yeah, and I also want to point out that earlier when we embarked BT through that fence, sludge skip, that is like saves like 5 minutes. We skip a super long auto scroller, so that's like a huge time save there.
Yeah, but while we're in the ending part of this sequence, when we're waiting, we want to show up a bit of how lurch works. So effectively in Titanfall 2, when using digital inputs, if you jump and then press a direction, you will like lurch slightly in that direction. And you can take advantage of this with a technique known as tap strafing, where if you hold a strafe direction and then tap W as you're turning, you can circumvent the air acceleration to keep a good amount of the speed that you have and still be able to make sharp turns that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. So you saw examples of that from Clip there right at the end, and that tap strafing is used all over the course of the run. And now we're heading into the Abyss Chapter 1, and I need to be quiet for a frag.
Held it a little bit too long.
71 off of the frag crouch kick combo, very good.
Ooh,
90.
Like, 90 is the max you can get off of damage boosting, so that was like very close.
Yeah, no greater. You can get above speeds of 90 with other methods, but the damage boosting will only cap you at 90. You can't get any higher with that, but very nicely done from Clip to start off. This is Into the Abyss Chapter 1, and in this level, it has gone over a massive overhaul in the last 2 years with out-of-bounds strategy that was found and been optimized very heavily over the course of the last little bit. Nice frag there. This is going to get up to 70. So we're going to do this out-of-bounds movement that we know where all the invisible walls are. We're going to transition here, slide underneath these 2 doors, and keep as much speed as we can as we hop through. Very nicely done. We're going to hit triggers along the way that we would be able to hit, that we are able to hit out of bounds, that we need to hit in order to finish the level. We fade out there to get clipped back inbounds from the quick spawn that happens there. And now we just have to click one button here. We have to escape this building, try and go for a frag. That's good damage. Hit this button, which removes the death plane at the bottom of this pit and allows us to hit the end level trigger early. That is a fantastic Into the Abyss Chapter 1, which, by the way, in our Mock March tournament series, which just ended about an hour ago, Clipboard got a new world record for Into the Abyss Chapter 1 in a tournament match, which is just ridiculous. Clip is goated at that level. But we are now into the Abyss Chapter 2, and you're seeing a use of a platform momentum conservation technique with the way, platforms and how the speed interaction works in this game, which looks very cool, and you get a lot of great speed. That section looked awesome. Unfortunately, none of it mattered, because as it stands right now, Into the Abyss Chapter 2 is an auto-scroller.
Yeah, there's even, we have a $2,000 bounty for anyone who can find a skip for this auto scroller. We also do have like technically a route that is faster that goes out of bounds, but nobody's been able to pull it off. Other than we have a segmented run that we show in like, okay, this is faster, but it's just so very, very difficult that nobody's been able to pull it off faster in for realsies.
Yeah,
I
there's
also
not.
would like to say, Fluffy, I am good. I have the audio meter set up, so feel free to talk while I'm doing frags.
Gotcha. Just had to make sure. Alrighty. With that being said, so we did a little bit of more momentum conservation. This right here, what you're seeing, this is Told Spice route. Because this level is an auto scroller, with the way that we're doing it currently, inbounds, there is no reason for us to do any of the actual intended platforming on this level when we can take this safer, consistent route on the outside that was found by Told Spice fairly early on in the game's life cycle to get us to this final platform here. And this is the final part of the assembly line that when you load into the level, this is the final part of that assembly line that goes through a scripted about 3 or so minute sequence to bring a platform, the first platform, to this final part of the assembly line. So while we're raiding, we set up something known as Red versus Blue, where the idea is we kill everything except the 2 Spectres, and then we hack one of these Spectres to turn it to our side and have the 2 Spectres duel it out. So right now they are both standing very far from each other. I imagine this is going to come down to an e-smoke grenade at some point, but right now Blue is having some very good shots right now. Red gets a couple back. This is an intense battle. Blue is missing those shots. That could be crucially enough that you need to finish this off here. Red's missing shots though, and there's some of them are going into the player character. That's not what you want to see, and that is going to be Blue as the victor in our Red versus Blue for today, ladies and gentlemen. Spending too much time trying to shoot the player character, just not shooting the real danger there. Unfortunately, Red throwing that fight.
Blue usually wins. I think that the AI for the hacked ones might actually be better than the normal ones.
Yeah. Yeah, this
So, yeah.
platform, this moving platform here, this is the first one that reaches this sequence. So now Clipboard is going to be setting up for a trick at the end here, which does actually matter in terms of saving time, known as Railgun.
Yep, so, ooh, I went a little early. That could have been bad. We just got to set up here, and then this platform, once it goes around that corner, it's going to go up to very, very high speeds. So then we're going to jump off of the platform and maintain that speed and try and take it around a corner and then do a climb up into a trigger that will start the ending level sequence. So here we go. This is really difficult. Wish me luck.
That's a good enough transition. That one extra little slide here can get you onto this wall. Yep, that's what you're looking for. So you get onto that wall, and now you start a sequence to climb up to the top. You're trying to beat out a specific platform so that we can climb on top of it and hit this end trigger. So you can hit this trigger at the top of the scaffolding as soon as possible. So we're going to be trying to climb. There it is right there. We want to get on top of this. Now we want to use the momentum from this. Nicely done. Gets on top of the scaffolding, and there's a trigger here that you have to hit in order to make the level progress to the final part of it, which is a dome building sequence. So right now you're seeing the dome is currently being disassembled at the top, while these parts are getting into place. And once these parts are into place, they'll immediately, once in place, start to build up into the dome sequence here. Now we're going to be doing another trick similar to Sludge Skip here, in the sense of how much time it saves, but how easy it is to just brush past it. So for whatever reason, okay, thankfully thankfully there's a little platform beneath us we can use as a backup. But thankfully, for some reason, there's just a gap in the collision there that just lets you crawl out of bounds here. And this is called Dome Skip. This is a very easy to pull off skip. You can not be a speedrunner and still pull this off, where you go out of bounds, reaches this point in the out of bounds, and this saves like 3 minutes. So where we're standing right now, this is we're going to be teleported off into the distance when this sequence finishes here and the level fades to black. And where we're standing right now is directly over top where the end level trigger will be, which is always loaded in onto this level. So as it fades to black, we're going to finish it out, and with a successful railgun, that is about as fast as you can do this level inbounds. Very nicely done, Clip.
Yep. And yeah, once again, that skips like a huge survival sequence. So we love to have that skip. We don't to not have more waiting in that level than we have to. So yeah.
Alrighty. So this is Into the Abyss Chapter 3. Because of what we did Into the Abyss Chapter 1, we don't have access to either the Scorch or the Brute loadouts here, which would normally be used for an IL Ash fight to try and get the fastest fight possible, or a couple variants of Hover Ash skips, which allow us to get past the door and hit the end level trigger in this level. So as we progress through this Decept Caverns here, we're going to be going for something known as E-Smoke Ash. But before that, we're going to be setting up some wall kicks here to try and build up speed to go for a pilot version of the transition through Into the Abyss Chapter 3. Normally, this is where you would embark into BT, and then you would progress through the level as normal. But if you can actually manage to keep your pilot speed through here, it is faster to transition through it as a pilot. So we're going to go for some hops off of these little containment pods. Very nicely done. As long as we can keep 50 through this, this is still very good from Clip. Nice wall kick there. Yeah, that is a beautiful looking transition. We shoot this Reaper.
Oh,
we
the Reaper?
didn't do it.
Hopefully that doesn't bite us in the butt. So yeah, we're gonna be after this cutscene, BT is gonna teleport next to us. So hopefully he doesn't just disappear. Okay, he's here with us. Sometimes he can just disappear randomly if something's blocking where he's gonna spawn. Now we're just gonna try and get past Ash, which we went pretty smoothly. Ash controls sometimes, so that's good. Then we're gonna set up for the E-Smoke Ash skip. We're gonna get in this spot, line up, and use the electric smoke, and then BT is gonna run out of it into this wall. Then once we embark, we're gonna be clipped through the wall and able to just go straight onto the level trigger. We'll just slide our way up.
Yeah.
Normally you'd have to kill Ash for that door to open. So that's the current Ash skip that we use in runs.
Yeah. There are additional variants of the Ash skip that have been found recently that are helpful for ILs, including a new variant of the Hover Ash skip. But for now, yeah, the E-Smoke is the one used in any % runs. So what we did there is we went back to the main menu and loaded into Effect and Cause Chapter 1 from the Mission Select screen. The reason we do this is to get access to those Titan loadouts that we previously skipped in the previous levels. So as we go through some scripted time swap sequences here that we have to plan our movement around, I'll explain real quickly that the reason we allow that to happen when we start a level from Mission Select is because when you load into a level for the first time, that mission is unlocked in the Mission Select screen if you started from New Game. So that's why we allow that to happen. A little bit caught up there. Going to go for a frag boost here through this sequence. Nicely done. 68, yeah, very good. So we want to carry all of this speed into this building on the right, slide it up this little railing for the stairs, pick up this helmet. This is Major Anderson. Our storyline here is that we've been trying to rendezvous with Major Anderson since we got onto the planet, and he's just hanging out up there. Don't worry about him. We're going to take his helmet for some information. Come on down, give the helmet over to BT, and then, kind of unfortunately, enter into a little bit of a cutscene sequence here that is entirely unskippable, that thankfully we can still do some movement during.
Yeah, and as you may have noticed, we're having some like weird rifts that are happening where we're kind of shifting through time, and in this first level we don't have control of it yet. It's just kind of happening to us. And there's certain triggers that we can like hit to start those sequences, but yeah, next level we are going to start to have control of that. And this level, this whole chapter is like one of the the coolest levels in the game casually. Like definitely what people will tell you about if they tell you about this game's campaign. It's this chapter. So yeah, I'm also coming around and picking up these logs while we wait here. But we are gonna have to set up now that we got that dialogue done. We're gonna set up here, and BT is going to throw a zip line up here. And so we're gonna wait for a certain cue and then jump and try and get on the zip line as it is being thrown up here. So there's the hand, and we're gonna go right as it gets set up. And the reason we have to do that is that there are invisible walls kind of blocking around this opening here. So that's the fastest way we have to get here, currently known.
Yeah, ideally we would be able to get into this building quicker, and supposedly there is someone in the past that have found a way to skip this, but they failed, so we pretty much think they're lying. But if you could find a way, we'd love to hear from you. Now we're going to be setting up for a trick here known as FTL. These laser grids that were beside, whenever you get hit by them, they launch you out at a high speed. So we're going to try and take advantage of that.
Okay, not quite enough speed. I'll load the checkpoint once. We'll try it again. Okay, not enough again. We'll just continue through here. We have to make sure to not go too fast there because we can get soft locked. And that's why we have to slow down. We need it like 80 minimum to skip that kind of time swap sequence. So yeah, we're on to the next level.
Yeah. Otherwise, you get soft locked if you go just somewhere between 70 and 80. So it's unfortunate. But yeah, we start off with Affecting Cause Chapter 2. We take the wrist-mounted device from Anderson here, and this gives us one of the best prompts in video game history, which is press button to time travel, which we now get full control over the time traveling sequence here. So a lot of our movement here is going to be do all of our wall kicks, all of our slide hopping and air strafing, while also transitioning times at the right time so that the walls that are in our way disappear when we need them to. We're going to go for another frag boost here. This one you can throw a little bit later than usual because of the way that it works. You just tap straight to the right here and pick up this Mastiff, which is an IL strat that you don't necessarily need to do in full game.
That was just muscle memory. That was complete accident. But we got the Eva on the elevator, so it's fine.
Yeah, very good to get the Eva back there, because the Eva, the Mastiff is still good, but the Eva is just so overpowered in the campaign because none of the multiplayer balances came to the campaign over the course of this game. The Eva is just so strong that we want to keep it for as long as possible.
All right, now we're going to have a free speed here. We're going to build up speed before this door opens, but I got to wait for an audio cue here. So we should get through right as it opens and make our way down here. A little bit scuffed, but we made it. And now we're going to be setting up for another pre-speed. We're going to try and go all the way around in a circle to build up speed before the door opens. So we're going to be waiting for a cue here. It's going to shoot 6 shots, and then on the 6th we'll start going. So here we go.
That's very nicely done, getting 70 off of that setup. Transition this into cryo storage, where we're going to be making advantage of lurch and tap strafing all across. Nice frag there. Going to go for a wall kick. We're going to set up for something known as Hyper Hellroom Zipless, where we're going to go for a wall kick here. Very nicely done that we can transition and skip a zip line with. Now we're going to go over the Snuggle Slide, which is some momentum conservation shenanigans. No time to explain it. Just watch the 155 be transitioned into this hallway. And the hole-in-one. Oh my goodness. Mwah, that beautiful ending sequence. That is clean from Clip at the end there. That is what makes Affecting Cause 2 an IL that everyone loves to watch. And one of my favorite in the game is just that entire sequence. We're going to finish up here with some wall kicks as we head into the Abyss Chapter 3, which is the shortest level in the entire game when done in a speed run. So yeah, we're going to transition right into that here because it's going to be quick and it's going to be good. Start off by time swapping. We're going to take a route here, which avoids a bunch of spawns, as well as, manipulates enemies in a specific way. Wall kick up to here, interact with this terminal that we stab a data knife into, which hacks things. Just roll with it. Don't worry about it. And now we're going to be setting up for something known as fan boost, where we use the knockback properties of this fan to try and boost us forward. Didn't quite get a good one, but we can still transition this into a decent transition. All right, didn't quite work out, but you can get upwards of like 90 kilometers per hour from the boost from that fan. And if done correctly, you can transition into this time stop sequence in just a few seconds. One of the fastest strats we have for this level. Now we're going to be finishing it off here. We're going to grab this zip line. And we're going to go for ship skip, which we need to do a wall kick off of that left side. Very nicely done. To transition ourselves into the final sequence. That ship skip, by the way, saves like 2 to 3 seconds, and if you fail, it loses you like 15. It's one of the riskiest tricks in the game for such a minimal time save.
Yeah, and especially with the older variation of that was like IL only, and even in ILs, you're kind of like crazy for going for it. But yeah, now we're interacting with the arc here. Which was kind of what like causing the rift in time things to be weird, breaking our wristwatch, which sadly we aren't going to be able to time travel for the rest of the game. The wristwatch brokey, so yeah. And that the arc is like kind of what everybody's after. It's the MacGuffin of this game that the IMC, the bad guys, are trying to get. So, yeah, now we're on to the beacon, and this first level, there's not a whole lot going on. It's kind of a semi-auto scroller at the beginning. We just need to make sure to not be too slow.
That's not a great start for the not going slow part. We wanted to ideally get ahead of BT here, which yeah, we did end up doing. So this part. The main goal is to get over to this this building a little bit further on and take out all the stalkers that are assaulting the building. So this is a skip that was found by Tron Javolta back in the 2017-2018 era. That if you take out all of these stalkers that are on the wall, ideally you hitting the weak points here. Hitting the weak points causes them to explode, and also just means that they're going to guarantee die. And then go on back to where BT is currently going through a scripted movement sequence to reach to. If you do this fast enough, the rest of the stalkers will despawn, which will skip about a 45-minute sequence of dialogue and expected combat. So now we have to enter BT here.
Yeah, we didn't get the skip there. I was a little too slow.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, nothing.
Yeah, so that sequence saves about 45 seconds over what would be otherwise scripted if we can do it fast enough. Even the absolute worst variants of that still save a massive amount of time. We're going to go for a little sequence here where we try and get BT stuck in the ground.
Oh, it actually does work, although it's a bit slow. Wait a minute. Oh, nope, it doesn't.
What the? I've never seen that.
I don't think I have either.
I have never seen him.
Usually he'll teleport over here, but yeah, I was a little bit late on it, I guess. So that's a pretty small time save, but usually works.
Yeah, it's one of those time saves that's like not necessary to go for, but just guarantees the absolute bare minimum time that it takes for BT to start talking with this scripted sequence, which there's a couple variants for, and that's the one Clip went for. It didn't quite work, but now we need an audio cue for Clip here to get some free speed to the end level trigger. That wasn't necessarily an audio cue, but a visual cue more so.
Yeah, looking for BT to move his arm. And then, yep, get through that door right as it opens. And now we're on to one of the most skill-intensive levels in the game. As he's starting off with a frag here.
Yeah, so this is the Beacon Chapter 2, pretty much the most popular and most competitive IL in Titanfall 2's history. It starts off with chaining a very large amount of wall kicks and trying to maintain as much speed as you possibly can. You get past this little electric wall, and turn around immediately because we hit a trigger that we need to hit in order to transition into kill room skip. Okay, that's enough to enough to get it. That was kill room skip, which skips the kill room as we call it, and that was a good frag variant of it to go along with a wall kick attempt that we do of the softball. So now we transition down here to taking out a Marvin on the side here. And taking out this Marvin lets us get the arc tool, which we need for progression for both the story as well as the next stage, Beacon Chapter 3. We're going to rise up to the fan, go for one of two things here, getting, neither of them, either God Mantle or Mayor Bonk, but that's still just fine. Now we're going to head on over, get through this heat sink area and go for heat sink skip, which is going to take advantage of a frag to try and boost herself across the gap. Nicely done. Excellent speed. No even need for a mantle there. Now we're going to head into the ending fan sequence. We're going to go and try and go for a corner cut, making use of tap strafes. Very nicely done. Got the advanced variant of it to skip through part of this fan sequence. Going to go for fizzy fans. We use the boost from that fan to gain all of that speed into forward momentum and stair slide, spamming the spacebar up the stairs. Almost too good. Gets caught up on the door. That was a beautiful, beautiful Marathon Beacon 2 from Clip. Very nicely done.
Yep, very solid. And one of the benefits that we get from menuing in ENC 1 rather than Beacon 1 is that we get frags. So that level becomes a good bit faster. I also, we did kind of like, in that level we have like a lot of movement that's kind of unintuitive, but to hit triggers. And so like why we're, just going through the level in the beginning and then going backwards, and then like why we're just like stepping in a doorway in the end. So it's so that we don't get soft locked at the end, pretty much.
Yeah. There's a lot of movement like that, especially in this level, for example, where we go through a specific routing entirely because the game is very trigger gated. As a small note here, this is a sequence where you have to light up all of these power conduits in order to charge up the beacon to send a message to the militia fleet. That's the storyline going on here. Very easy to lose a little bit of time if you're just messing about a little bit, but honestly, it's a fairly easy section. But yeah, this game is very trigger gated in the sense that there's so many invisible triggers that you have to hit that if you don't hit them, will just soft lock some levels and just not let you progress. So there are some cases where we can do, say, reverse trigger order shenanigans, which does certain things, or skip certain triggers because the end level trigger is always loaded. But for the most part, anytime you see us do a little bit of weird routing, like, hey, why did they, step in that door, or hey, why did they go there and then immediately turn around, the likelihood is we're hitting invisible triggers that are required to finish the level.
Yeah, and there's actually kind of a funny thing regarding that with this level, where there's kind of like what seems like an obvious skip, or like why don't you just go this way, that skips so many triggers that we see runners, like new runners, coming into the Discord and being like, hey, I found this new skip, and they just miss all the triggers, and it's hilarious every time.
Yeah, it's like a, okay, so small thing here, we're using the Brutes loadout here to use the hover ability, jamming ourselves in that wall. That does two things. Number one is it makes BT start this walking sequence immediately, which is called fast BT, saves about 3 seconds. But the other thing is disembarking while using the hover ability from Boot reduces our gravity by 15%. This is called Moon Boots and is integral to the next part of this level called Super Fastball. So what's going to happen here is Clip is going to get into BT's hand, and after this sequence, BT is going to throw us. By holding the spacebar, we'll get a frame-perfect jump out of BT's hand, which will allow us to transition all of the speed with the reduced gravity into a sequence known as Super Fastball, one of the best in the game. I'm going to let Clip focus up. Very good so far. So the first part of that sequence, we want to do some strafing and pathing in a way that we land on that box and get a bunch of grab stars. And now we're going to take those grab stars over to this sequence here. That was Super Fastball Deluxe, where you pick up the grab stars on the way. We use this grab stars to jump up over and get on over to this module earlier than we would otherwise be able to. The ideal one allows us to get onto those little poles on the side of that dish there, but this backup is still faster than doing the more beginner-friendly Super Fastball route. Now we're going to be setting up for Zipless here, where we throw a grab star ahead of it, hoping to get a boost as we land. Nicely done. And now we're going to... Ooh, yeah, I'm gonna have to reset
an instant
checkpoint.
double jump there. That's rough.
Yeah, not ideal, but we're gonna try for it again here. Nicely done. And now we're gonna set up for Hyper Zipless into Tesco Meal Deal. Not explaining why it's called that, but we use this little lift here to shoot us into the sky, and we're going to hit these next two triggers out of order. So we hit the last one first by coming over here, getting this trigger.
BT bounce.
Ooh,
Just want to point that out.
That's so good.
For some reason, BT is bouncy when we have that much platform velocity.
Yeah, and then you do this trigger right here. So hitting these triggers out of order is called Tesco Meal Deal. The big thing here...
Yeah, the grunt's still alive. We need to kill those 3 grunts for the trick to work, so I had to go back.
Yeah, so hitting these triggers out of order causes a script that would normally cause infinite spawns during this fight sequence for 45 seconds once activating it to not start, which means all we have to do is kill all of the enemies in this sequence, and once all of the enemies are dead, the dish fight sequence will end, allowing us to finish this dish fight roughly about 20 to 30 seconds at the absolute most ideal, quicker than what we would otherwise normally be able to. The variant of Tesco that we did there is slower than a more advanced variant called Cooperang, but Cooperang is very situational and also extremely high level. But still a very good Tesco across the board, getting that good BT bounce, very good speed off of the Hyper Zipless setup for it. And yeah, the grab star boost back to the other trigger was also great as well. So this has been a very good Beacon 2 coming out from Clipboard here.
Yep, and we also had a little cheeky bump launch to get up here faster. It doesn't technically save time, but it just makes it so that it's easier to get to this spot before it drops down, meaning that we don't lose any time. Now it's gonna drop us down once we put in the new battery module, but BT's gonna save us. Thanks, BT. And we're gonna be headed over to the final bit of this level, the boss fight, or the Titan fight. And right now we just need to get over there before certain dialogue plays. We're gonna be setting up. There are gonna be a couple Reapers that drop down, and we just need to kill them within a certain time frame. We can be pretty leisurely here. With pretty much every Titan fight in the game, we have ways of manipulating where they spawn. So, like that. I'm gonna clear out these 3 Reapers, then head over to the next spot where we need to look here to manipulate the next set of Titans. Okay, they've dropped. Now we're going to be using the Flame Wall to get these Titans to run into our Flame Trap. And we look up there to ignite the trap, because that makes them duplicate, dealing a ton of damage and just melting them, absolutely. Now we're heading on to the Richter fight.
Yeah, so the Richter fight has got a 2-part sequence to it that allows us to save some time. So it starts off with actually killing Richter in total. We start off with an arc wave, 2 shots, activate the fork, swing all of our slashes into Richter. Ideally, that shot takes Richter into a nuke eject state. Very nicely done. Once the nuke eject is done, we use a hover on the brute ability to land on top of that little part of the building and disembark, which puts us inside the building. Then once the elevator goes up, we disembark again. That causes BT, as you see, to teleport into the position that we need him to, which is a strategy known as Elmo Clip, thank you, Next Racer, to just basically guarantee the ending part of this saves as much time as possible. And I believe on average saves about a second and a half. So very good strategy there from Next Racer. I love Elmo Clip.
Yeah, Next Racer is also the person who named Tesco Meal Deal. If you're wondering where the naming genius is coming from in this level.
Yeah. And one thing I want to note as we're going through this ending sequence here is how does that clip work exactly? So basically, BT has navigation mesh that is meshed all over each of the levels in Titanfall 2, where like if BT is allowed to stand somewhere, it'll be on that nav mesh. The way that clip works is we stand on top of that building, and when we disembark, it tries to see if BT is on a piece of nav mesh. If it isn't, it'll teleport BT to the closest piece of nav mesh that he can stand on, which just so happens to be a very tiny amount of nav mesh inside of the building. And when we disembark again, the same thing happens, that like the closest piece of nav mesh is outside the building, which is why that trick works the way that it does. It's very funny, and the greatest part about it is the fact that it lets us escape the building, which is super useful for the all helmets category, because it lets us collect some helmets during this scripted ending sequence here. So shout outs to Next Racer for that one. I love Elmo Clip. It's great.
It also just lets us be free. Lets us live our best life in this waiting section. So
yeah.
All right, we're coming up on another level that is very Titan focused. We got more Titan action. So yeah, we've got a little bit of a cutscene at the beginning, but then we're going to be getting into it.
All right. So, this level is pretty unique in the sense that it has, especially in the current state of Titanfall 2, it has basically the most use of a Titan in any of the levels in the game. And we're going to be making use of a trick that we've known about for some time, but thanks to a member of the community known as Robert, 3D, as you can see in the chat potentially, we found a way to pull this off in a fast and effective manner that allows us to do this this initial fight way more consistently. So we're going to pull out our sword block ability on Ronin, which reduces our damage taken by 75%, disembark and re-embark, and as you see in the bottom left, we have this core. So once we have this core, we're going to get over here, swap to the Brute loadout, then swap to the Scorch loadout, and immediately use our core. If we do it very quickly after we select the loadout, we'll get access to the Flight Core weapon on the Brute ability, but still have access to the Scorch abilities, plus we'll have the Flight Core rockets forever. This is a strategy known as Encore, and we use this during this fight to take out this... take out the enemies here in a very consistent way. We have to take out about 2 waves of Titans. The second wave spawns after killing a certain amount. And then, yeah, there it is. We're looking for that dialogue, which is Tihu Komalai, but basically signified by Sarah Briggs' profile popping up and saying that. Very nicely done. Sarah's right there. So now we're into an escort quest part of this level, where we have to take out these enemies in the way of Sarah, because we need Sarah to get to an elevator at the end of this sequence in order to progress through the level. And there we go, we see Elk Force Stork 2. That signifies that Sarah is through the big door that we opened up by killing a certain amount of Titans. So now that we've taken out this Titan, that Reaper, we're going to go for something known as Triggerless, where we go on the outside of the intended play area here, which skips a bunch of triggers that would otherwise spawn some Titans in. The key thing to note is it is theoretically faster to just go forward and kill the Titans, but this is far, far more consistent, and only like the ability to kill the Titans is only like at most a 2-second time loss if you do it perfectly. So thankfully BT is here on the elevator. Sarah is not far behind. Very nicely done. So we're gonna go for a strategy here to get BT stuck in the floor. This is known as Snop It, or Snop It. I don't know. Snop It. Anyway, the point being is that by disembarking while using the hover at a specific point, BT should fall through the elevator and get stuck. And we need BT to get stuck for this strategy known as Lone Wolf, where we leave BT a lot behind and start progressing through this level in pilot movement. This is 80 kilometers in the opening section. Very good. Losing some speed, but adapting extremely well. Lone Wolf goes through this part of the level so much quicker than what we could do with Titan movement, especially thanks to crouch kicks. This has become one of the most high-skilled sections in the game. We're going through in a specific way, using our cloaks at specific times to make sure we have the highest chance of living through any given sequence. We hit the cutscene trigger here. This is absolutely phenomenal of the Lone Wolf. Now, we're not out of the woods just yet, but it's still fairly easy to get through the end here. You go for a wall run, jump off the wall, and from here you use a cloak. You just have to make sure you reach the end level trigger, and we're safe. Even if we got shot at this point, we would still be fine. A phenomenal trial by fire from Clipboard. That was amazing.
Yep. And then on to the next level, we're going to be menuing again. So this to get the ion loadout, which is going to be very useful coming up. And then we're also going to get rid of this frag grenade. That will mean that once this waiting section is over, we're going to recharge our grenades. I also wanted to say, with as far as like Titans killing us, it's very easy to die to Titans. Most of them can just one-hit kill us. But the faster that we're going, the less likely they are to hit us. Like, their AI is programmed so that if you're going faster, they will have worse aim, basically. But sometimes you still just die there. It's very volatile. And if you die, it's usually really bad, the checkpoint there, so.
Yeah, and it's also one of the reasons we play on easy, because the harder difficulties make the AI more accurate, and that strategy is, even at 100 kilometers, that strategy is almost impossible on master difficulty. So, yeah, here we're going for something known as Swagmingus! Yeah, Swagmingus! Yes! Yay, hooray, hooray!
This doesn't save any time. It's just a funny out of bounds that we can do while waiting for this cutscene.
Yeah, so this is Viper. This will be the boss of this level. This guy's like the perfect mix of like anime edge and cool. Love this guy. And he's going to be the boss of the level later on, as I mentioned, but he takes out the ship here, and this is where the level actually starts to happen. So we're going to land on a ship and immediately go for a trick known as Barker Skip, where we jump from the ship we land on here to another ship known as the 6-4. Another ship that is housing the 6-4, rather. So we're going to start off with a frag boost that we need an audio cue for.
Wait for it. And, oh, not quite enough.
Yeah. So Barker Skip is pretty much the single most variant trick in the game. Even if you do everything correctly, sometimes the game just says no.
Go for second try. Oh, I went a little late there. Frag killed me. That's pretty rare. But yeah, the ship we're trying to land on has a different kind of where it is placed is different each time. So, okay, we're able to make it even without the frag. Nice.
Yeah,
so that skips
good.
a big sequence, big cutscene where BT will throw us across. And
Yeah,
now we're going to be... Okay, nice.
Yeah, so that
Sliding
was
off that early.
Yeah, so that was 6-4 skip. It's the basic concept. We get off of one ship, get onto another earlier than we're intended. Take out those two guys here to try and open up this elevator as quickly as possible. Once all the enemies are out of the elevator, it'll go up, and now we head into the next sequence of the arc. So now we're going to be going for a battery gun clear here, which the game wants us to take out all three, but we actually only need to take out the third one in order to progress through this far. So we're going to completely ignore the first two gun batteries here as we pull a frag to prepare for the second one. We throw it, take out both the gunner and the guy standing there. The ideal is we take out all of these guys. That is so quick.
Oh, wow, that was like actual stagger skip. So we're trying to kill those guys before the game forces us to like stagger on the ground. And there, I somehow just avoided staggering it all. So that's amazing.
Yeah, very good job there. So one thing to note, this level is fairly volatile in the sense that doing Barker Skip enables a significant amount of shenanigans to potentially happen. Most of it is extremely rare, and you'll never see it happen in even like 1 in every 100 arcs that you do. But there are some things that are a bit more common. But for right now, we're now doing a hangar clear sequence. We're trying to find fire stars if we can. Didn't get them, so we're instead going to be throwing these EMP grenades to take out some enemies. The ideal is we get fire stars for the most optimal kill. Didn't get them, so we're going for a backup strategy here. Stand behind these guys as they spawn in the back. Now we're going to head over to another set of enemies that are coming up the stairs. Going to take all of these guys out. And the way that we're doing this is very specifically because the 6-4, the mercenaries that we are fighting with, are scripted to take out a specific number of enemies in a specific manner. So if we take out all the ones that they're not scripted to take out, just like that, there we go. We get the rooms clear coming out from gates. We can clear this room as fast as possible. And we're also getting fairly nice RNG from Gates here. Gates sometimes likes to take forever to get up to this sequence, and we need all of the 6-4 to be here in order to progress into the next part.
Yeah, we're gonna breach this glass here, and the 6-4 is just gonna take out all of the enemies for us, so we don't have to worry about that at all. Get the dialogue, and then we're gonna be heading into kind of like what Fluffy was talking about earlier with the volatility. This is one of the most cursed parts of the level. Here we're just going to be trying to steer the ship to line up with that one in front of us. But the ship steer itself is pretty normal most of the time. What is weird, what can be weird with it is what happens afterwards. So we'll line up the ship. And we'll see. Okay, sometimes the game will just kill you there for no apparent reason. So good to avoid that. Now BT's gonna punch open this glass. If we touched his hand, we would crash the game. That's because of the trigger to do the kind of cutscene at the beginning where we skipped that, or that we skipped, is still active. So the game kind of doesn't know how to deal with that. Now we're heading on to the Viper fight. We're going to be trying to take out his shields here with our two kind of long-range abilities, and then just using this splitter rifle to just shred Viper. Then use the sword core to clear up these scorches, and that was really clean. What we do there, or the mechanic that makes that kill so fast on Viper, is that we recharge our splitter gun energy when we hit the weak spots of a Titan. So if we, as long as we hit enough weak spots, we can just keep using it to just absolutely shred Viper, like you saw there. And now we're going so fast that we're actually out of bounds here, and we're gonna need to clip back in. You can see with the kind of weird, weird buggy out of bounds skybox. So. Here we go.
Yeah, so we're going for something here called a mantle clip, where we're going to line up right here, and once the invisible wall that's moving towards us starts pushing us, we're going to hold forward and try and use the space bar to clip back in bounds. Very nicely done. And we did that fight so quickly here that this scripted sequence, nice shot, that is so good. But yeah, we did that fight so quickly that this scripted sequence actually finishes and makes Viper vulnerable before we're even able to clip back in bounds, which is just how far the fights for Viper used to have come. The initial strategies for Viper, we would never get out of bounds, and then we found Viper Zerg, which allowed us, which made us have to be aware of the mantle clip strategy in the first place. And now with Snake Splitter, it is so fast that we actually end up losing a little time to that scripted sequence ending before we can even engage with it. But now we're in the final part of the arc. This is a, as long as you do everything correctly here, you know, get to where you need to, hold W when you need to, and press the right dialogue options as fast as possible. This is a sequence that takes about 1:55 to finish here. So this is more or less, we're just done with the important parts of the level here. And we're going to be just getting ourselves prepped for the final level of the game. We're just about there, folks. We have been blazing right on through it with a supremely good display of skill from Clip.
Yeah, and while we're waiting, I would like to kind of just add on to what you were saying with kind of that theme is what we see a lot with strats in this game, where we are gaining time, but we're also losing a little bit, but we gain time overall, despite that little bit of trade-off. We see that with the Out of Bounds in Abyss 1, where we, didn't have Titan loadouts, so the ending Ash skip's a little bit slower. So that kind of stuff is all over the place. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah,
but
Titanfall 2 speedrun is a game about trade-offs, basically. And because of it being so linear, you don't have to do like any of the stuff here that's like super hard. You can ease into it as you get better at the game. But now we're loaded into the final level here. This is the fold weapon, and we have to go through a long, unskippable cutscene here, in which, storyline-wise, we tried to get the Ark, but we got captured, and now they've captured us and are trying to get the Ark from outside of BT's chassis here. Oh god, I yawned. Yeesh. I'm exhausted.
Almost there, guys.
Yeah, we're so close. Final stretch.
Yeah, just to explain, I came off of what was the most hyped grand finals we've ever had in the Mock March tournament series, and Clipboard was participating as a competitor in that grand finals. And Clip was also, I was doing TO where Clip was playing the whole game, had to go from winners to losers to grands, like. And then we had to like a small break, and then we had to come do this this marathon run. Which, thank you for having us, for the record.
Yeah, this has been great. I'm happy to be here, despite being tired. Yeah, this has been great. Just been gaming all day. What you love to see.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we are going to be getting through the end of this here. And then we're going to start off the final level. And the fold weapon is a level that used to test basically all of your skills in Titanfall 2. Your pilot movement in open areas, your pilot movement in closed quarters, your ability to use and effectively use your Titan abilities and core gain effectively, as well as your ability to do boss fights in the Titan. In recent memory, though, a strategy known as Rocky Road, which used to be an extremely risky strat that you would only go for if you were like, you needed it to get a world record type of thing, has had some developments on it that has made it one of the most consistent, well, not necessarily consistent, it's still a very high level strat, but it's consistently safe now is the main thing. Flashing light warning, by the way. Look away if you're sensitive. And you should be good to look back, because we found out a way to skip the triggers that spawn in enemy Titans. And similar to Lone Wolf, where we needed to get BT stuck, if we had those Titans spawned and tried to go through with the strategy, it would unfortunately very often lead to BT dying. And if BT dies when we're not inside of him, the level resets. So right here, as we gain control, we're going to move backwards to get away from BT. This will cause BT to skip forward about 7 or so seconds of otherwise expected waiting, where this dialogue sequence will go forward. We originally thought that we had to back up into the fire. We think it's more of a proximity thing now, but it just so happens the quickest way to get out of that proximity is walking backwards into the fire, so, you know. And now, with that being said, we're going to pick... BT is going to rip off his face, and we're going to pick up the Seer Kit, which is the Survive, Evade, Resist, Escape Kit. We're going to pick up the Smart Pistol, which is a literal aimbot pistol they put in the multiplayer of both Titanfall games. Don't ask me why, they did. We're going to get another Data Knife, which just ignore the fact that there's a Data Knife sitting there in our belt, you know, high FOV things. And then this is BT's Data Core, which contains the entirety of his AI functions. As long as that is intact, BT is, for all intents and purposes, alive. We're gonna do another super glide. Enter this sequence. Enter this stabby, hacky sequence here. One more super glide, and now we're into the fold weapon. So we start off without a double jump here right at the start, but we're gonna get it back very quickly as the jump kit initializes. There we go. Back to the full array of pilot movement, and now we're going to be doing that close quarters into open area pilot movement here that I mentioned. Very nice job sliding under there and maintaining a good amount of speed. For this sequence, we're going to try and go for some wall kicks and chain them into a few wall kicks later on here. Ooh, getting caught a little bit. But this is one of the highest skill pilot sections in the game right now. Very fun to watch as you chain wall kicks and try and maintain your speed through tight corridors and tight turns as well. 70 through that sequence. We're going to get through this open door here of a small tap strafe. Nicely done jumping off, and we're going to get up top. Yeah, that is beautiful. That is what you want to see from that. We're going to call in the Titan. We're going to insert the data core here, because without inserting the data core, there is a death plane further along in the level that we cannot get rid of otherwise, and would prevent us from progressing forward without doing this at the very least. And then we're going to send Rocky Road. This is one of the...
We're just immediately ditching BT, and we're going to take some rocks to avoid those triggers that spawn in Titans, keeping BT safe. And now we just got some kind of jank rock wall kicks. This is looking good.
Yeah, the geometry here is very difficult to get good wall kicks off of, but Clip's still making this look easy, keeping 50 through, keeping above 45 through most of the sequence. Gonna go for a little bit of routing here called true Titanless, true triggerless, I believe, rather, where we once again avoid the final wave of spawns that we would come in here, which is important for making sure that we don't get shot as we try and get through door skip there. That's again another like skip that looks like nothing, but is actually a huge time save that we just don't talk about. But we get through that sequence of grunts and specters. Do a little maneuvering here to give us a height so we can transition through the sequence with as much speed as possible. It's worth taking the time loss. Tap strafe around these corners, get some wall kicks, and now we enter the trigger to enter the Sloan fight here. And this Sloan fight is what is the final boss of the game. Now, although we entered this trigger as a pilot, we will actually go directly into our Titan BT when we come out of this cutscene. And now we're going to be doing a version of the Sloan fight known as Busy Sloan. So it's going to start off here by swapping to the Ronin loadout. We throw an arc wave, put 4 shots into her, then we shoot her until she disappears, and this will spawn the first wave of Titans. We use a flame trap dupe and some flame shield in order to take them out. Now we stand and manipulate the Sloan spawn to be right here, put down a flame wall and walk towards her to manipulate her to walk backwards. We want her to go down to about 25% HP here. Once she goes down to 25% HP, she disappears again, spawns in these wave of Reapers. We use our Ronin core to take out all 3 of them. We can substitute that with the Brute, but that's another topic for later. And then Sloan spawns in one more time with a spawn manip. We just need to kill her here while getting maximum core. Once she's dead, we activate our sword core before we engage in this sequence where we try and pull out the arc injector, and this gives us a trick known as Andy Shot. As well, Clip did the fight well enough that we got the interact with that arc injector before the PA sequence said full weapon priming sequence at 97%. That is going to give us a trick known as pre-charge. So this first trick here is Andy Shot. One day, a Reddit user by the name of Shot Andy went to Reddit and said, "Hey, I found a way to do this funny thing in this cutscene and have my gun out. Here's how I did it." So Brian Otto on his stream was told this at one point, and he said, let's figure it out. So we did what the instructions said for us to do, and then we can use our gun in the sequence to kill Blisk. The great thing about this is this just skips all of Blisk's dialogue. This doesn't soft lock the game, doesn't crash the game or anything. It just skips all of that dialogue. So that saves about 34 seconds at the absolute best. So thanks to Reddit user Shot Andy, we call that trick the Andy Shot. Now, additionally, you can go over this one if you want. Clip.
Oh, yeah. So, because we did the fight fast enough, we have, as you can see in the bottom left, this arc injector is already pre-charged. Normally, we'd have to wait for it to be we'd have to wait for it to charge up, but for some reason, doing the fight fast enough, there's like a certain dialogue that we need to start interacting with the arc injector before that happens to get pre-charged. That'll, yeah, have it be charged up, saving like 13 seconds. So it's a pretty big deal. Yeah, as we're waiting on the cutscene here. We're gonna have time coming up. One last movement sequence once we hit the ground. So we got to do a dialogue here to get through this as fast as possible, and this is the time to say goodbye to BT. BT selflessly sacrificing themselves to destabilize the Ark and saving us. Now we're going to be going into the escape sequence, trying to get out of this mess here. So yeah, let's get it.
Yeah, so importantly, time will be coming up at the end of this sequence here. So this clip is going to go through here. We're going to go for a wall kick and try and hit this trigger as low as we possibly can.
Oh, I hit it a little
Ooh,
too low.
A little too
the
low
death-
because we hit the
death
death
plane.
plane there. Yeah, so we'll just retry that again. Again, time will be coming up at the end of this sequence. So we will be kicking off the wall, trying to hit this trigger as low as possible. This gives us the best opportunity to try and go for airstrafes here. We want to hit about 47 minimum, 48 ideally. Nicely done. So once we get that, we double jump immediately, which lets us get a slant boost off of that piece of terrain. That's known as hyper sweep take. Time is coming up right at the end. We carry that speed. Time.
And there it is. That section is very weird. A lot of like jank stuff, but it ends up being really cool if you can hit it all properly. And yeah, there we go.
Sub 120 RTA, by the way. That is a phenomenal performance from Clipboard.
Yeah, out of curiosity, what's the RTA timer?
119.18 it says on. Yeah.
Because I got a on load removes. I got a 116.09.
Oh, dang.
So pretty good. Pretty good.
Extremely well done, Clip. That is a great showcase of the potential of Titanfall 2's as a speed run right now. One of the best speed games from last decade, and we constantly keep finding new things that push this game to its absolute limit. Most recently, of course, during the month of March, a runner by the name of Dadadu set the first 1 hour 13-minute loadless time and a new world record during this month. Big shout outs to Dadadu for that as well. A huge milestone to break in Titanfall 2.
Yeah, and I also just like shout outs to the community for like pushing this game so far. Like it's crazy to see how much the game has progressed since last year. We've shaved a whole like 3 minutes off the run with so many new tricks. And also just like I'm just really happy to have my personal journey with this game and like how much I've gotten better at the game since last year. So yeah, guess if anybody else has any final thoughts, that's
Alright,
where I'm good to leave it.
That's Titanfall 2, any percent. Like, damn, that's pretty fast, man. Compared to like last year too.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
like 6 minute difference. RTA.
Yeah. But pretty
Yeah.
much, that's our last one for this charity event. Like, thank you for like commentating, Lord Fluffy, and also for the run, Clipboard. Always a pleasure to like host you guys speedrunning, and yeah, pretty much that's it. Titanfall.
Yeah. Thanks
Thank
for
you very
running
much.
this event. Thanks
Alright.
for having us here. So,
Alright.
goodbye, all.
Alright, one more say GG's for Clip and Lord Fluffy here. They need a well-deserved rest after this run. And hopefully to see you guys again on the next time. Like hopefully
Yeah.
next year, more organized one. But yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
absolutely.
much GG's guys, and thanks. And I'll be
Alright.
disconnecting. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Alright. Oh wait, gotta turn off cam. Wait, why is the cam here? Okay, there. There it is. All right, let's find someone to raid. Dude, that concludes the event. That's pretty much it. I think all in all, it was like a total of like 15 hours of like stream for the whole event. GG's. Yo, thanks again everyone, like yo gamer as well. People who sent donos, odds. Who else sent donos? Bully.